After the events of last story arc, the JAA, national organization in charge of any and all assassin work inside of Japan, just lost 75% of its total employee roster over numerous large-scale terror attacks, even letting their own headquarters fall to its knees, all at the hands of one single man and his devout followers. Slur, the assassin killer, better known now as Kei Uzuki, continues to sow his seeds of destruction in hopes of igniting his own personal revolution. Meanwhile, the Order, responsible for the balance of the assassin underworld, also mobilizes to its full capacity in hopes of bringing this criminal mastermind to justice. Caught in the middle of everything, our heroes, Taro Sakamoto and Shin and Akira, are also on the move, enrolling themselves in JCC Assassin University, the old stomping grounds of Sakamoto, Nagumo, as well as Kei Uzuki, in hopes they might be able to uncover some crucial piece of information on Slur, all to ensure the safety of Sakamoto's family. Now on an airplane that's taking them and a bunch of other assassin applicants to the site of the JCC Transfer Exam, a test administered to all JCC potentials in order to ensure their qualifications fit the JCC standard of authenticity. Not only does this test have no age limit, the exam usually has multiple retakers who were unable to pass the year before, which make it easier for Shin and Sakamoto to blend in with the crowd and not get recognized. However, it also means plenty of these applicants are already hardened warriors, and they can't let their guard down in the slightest. With how much the two of them have been through in the last year, it all seems like usual business to them at this point, chowing down on a full course meal and not looking the slightest concerned about what the exam might hold for them. Immediately doing the opposite of what Sakamoto intended and drawing loads of attention to the two of them, as they just come off as cocky, bringing them to encounter, in my opinion, the most important character in this entire fucking story arc, J. Irk, more formally known by his stage name, Kill Baby, a seasoned veteran of the JCC exam who is currently on his 5th attempt. Kill Baby sniffs first-time test takers from a mile away, and he reminds Sakamoto and Shin that only 1 in 40 applicants actually pass this exam. The test also changes every year, so it's impossible to predict what might happen next. Like someone eating your spaghetti right off your own plate and kicking the rest of it away, which, personally, is hands-on sight for me. I guess Sakamoto is just the better man here, because he just lets it go, claiming it doesn't bring the spaghetti back, but at that point, it's the principle, baby. In the background, watching from afar, is a young blue-haired girl. She can't help herself from trembling with fear as she watches other rookies like her get bullied and embarrassed. Despite telling herself she needs to be a cold-hearted assassin, she can't help but feel bad and root for them. She knows thinking like this, though, is going to get her killed. The loudspeaker interrupts that train of thought, though, silencing the entire plane of unruly hitmen. An exam proctor named Mizuno introduces herself and announces the beginning of the exam. She confirms that there are 360 attendants on this plane in total, and several of those 360 are undercover JCC teachers, each of them holding 3 golden bullets. In order to pass the exam, one has to identify who is a double agent and also manage to rob them of that golden bullet and get away with it until the plane lands. Some less green test takers wonder if they can actually compete with real pros in combat, while a young boy with a cloth mask breaks the whispers with one simple question: is killing allowed? And with a smile, Mizuno confirms this morbid fact. That is, if they can try. Suddenly, the ceiling springs forth and multiple lethal weapons, assault rifles, knives, blunt weapons, all drop out from where the oxygen masks are supposed to be, revealing exactly why the JCC exam's pass rate is so low. Not only do they have to worry about another applicant killing them, frankly, if this plane goes down or really has any trouble whatsoever, I guess it's just every man for themselves. as chaos erupts, it becomes very clear no two weapons dropped from the plane were created equally. For starters, some applicants received AR-15s, while others got things like combat knives. And if you thought that was unfair, fifth-time test taker Kill Baby was dropped a fucking spatula, making me think the reason Kill Baby hasn't passed all this time is because someone behind the scenes is manipulating this man's downfall. I mean, what are the odds? And look, I get it. The whole a true assassin adapts to the situation around them. Anything can be a weapon. You know, something Mizuno easily depicts by slitting Kill Baby's throat with that very spatula, but let's just call a spade a spade. This is unfair test conditions. The one thing the JCC exam is great at, though, is displaying how all these different types of assassins work. Some, like Cloth Mask, are jumping right in for the kill, while others might slow some things down and analyze the crowd to make logical conclusions on who the administrators are. And some might just hide and wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. Shin chooses to fight alone during the exam, as he feels this is the best way to get real experience and stop relying on Sakamoto. Shin's clairvoyance is at a disadvantage in this crowded plane, though, due to too many thoughts spiraling on it. And meanwhile, the blue-haired girl from earlier was one of the lucky ones who actually got a whole-ass automatic rifle. Unfortunately, her inexperience makes her an easy target for those with less ideal weapons. Funnily enough, though, her clumsiness actually turns out to be more dangerous than if she was a pro assassin, because she's just spraying and praying out there, clipping random passerbys without any real idea what she's doing. Thankfully, the blue-haired girl stops before accidentally doming the pilot of all people, and she turns to notice old man Sakamoto still slumped in his chair along with his provided weapon of choice. You want to guess what it is? A fucking ballpoint pen! Now, little does she know, Sakamoto using a pen, of all things, is honestly the less lethal option compared to his bare fucking knuckles, dispatching one to multiple applicants in a single ballpoint pen combo. Everyone around him just in awe of how capable Sakamoto is. To this crowd of rookies, though, Sakamoto is deemed way too strong to just be a normal applicant. One man even tries to rally the whole group around accusing Sakamoto, and because she happened to be standing right next to him, the poor blue hair, of being exam proctors. Now Sakamoto takes the lead here, throws the pen, drops luggage on top of the rider, and karate chops his damn throat so he can't yap anymore. But the young woman is enamored now, and thanks Sakamoto for saving her. But honestly, I don't even think he was really paying her any mind. He's too busy looting the knocked out bodies, and ironically enough, finding 3 golden bullets on the guy that tried to start the riot, proving he was just an administrator this whole time trying to take the heat off himself. It's here where Sakamoto realizes he probably should have held back a little bit and been more subtle with his talent, since this one rookie girl was able to detect his veteran level status almost instantly. But instead of calling Sakamoto out or questioning his identity, she runs up and shakes his hand, telling Sakamoto he's an inspiration to newbies everywhere and that one day she wants to have courage just like him. The young assassin's motivation amuses Sakamoto, and he flicks one of the 3 golden bullets her way, claiming to only need 2 of them anyway, showing Sakamoto's always thinking about Shin. But to his surprise, that blue-haired girl refuses to accept it. She's taking this exam because she wants to prove her worth as an assassin to someone, her role model. And if her role model didn't earn something, she wouldn't take it until that was the case. Inside the business class section of the plane, bloodied corpses surround the cloth mask assassin from earlier. Mizuno, the proctor who took out Kill Baby, is currently in his grasp by the throat. This cloth mask assassin's name is Mafuyu Siba, and if you've been paying attention throughout the story, you might have just realized the connection to this character immediately, but let's just stay quiet right now for those who haven't picked up on it. Mafuyu, clearly bloodlusted, despite already achieving his bullets, reminds Mizuno she did tell him he's allowed to kill her for these. But just before that interaction continues, Shin throws a kick in Mafuyu's orbit, knocking him to the other side of the plane. Mafuyu tells the old man to stay out of this, despite Shin only being 21, and even more surprisingly, Mafuyu is only 14 himself. Which, 1, impressive, they're both young and strong, but 2, it also explains many of the events to come, considering neither of their frontal lobes are developed. Mafuyu has the weapon advantage with his handgun and is quick enough to outpace Shin in moments, just barely missing a shot at Shin's shoulder and just grazing him. This prompts Shin to worry how a teenager is so battle-hardened, but before Shin can even let that question sit, Mafuyu snaps to being on the verge of a panic attack, losing all focus almost instantly at a speck of Shin's blood splattering onto his face from that gunshot. Reminiscent almost of a parts OCD, except getting in the way of Mafuyu killing effectively as opposed to being the main driving force behind it. Shin is rightfully caught off guard, but he's more so intrigued by how someone this affected by germs can pretend to act so confident. Mafuyu complains that he would already be enrolled in JCC if his older brother, wink wink nudge nudge, didn't give him the flu and make him miss the initial exam. Mafuyu's apparently missed his chance to make friends or fit into social hierarchies, despite, again, I just want to remind everyone this is a school to train assassins for killing people, not your average, high school prom here. Mafuyu is annoyed by all of this and plans to take all this teenage angst out on Shin as he pulls a cord from his heel, revealing two large blades behind Mafuyu's feet. And before Shin can even acknowledge these blades' existence, they're already inches away from his face, intending to split his head wide open. Shin ducks as Mafuyu cleaves through multiple chairs of the plane. The clairvoyant gets hold of Mafuyu's handgun and fires off some defensive shots, but they're gracefully deflected by Mafuyu as if he was performing for Yuri on Ice. Shin realizes he's at the disadvantage here, and he has no choice but to rely on his trump card, acknowledging that if Shin can't even win against this teenager, he'll never stop being a burden on Sakamoto. Shin resolves and activates Future Sight, immediately turning the tables and catching up to Mafuyu's agility, countering every one of his attacks perfectly as momentum begins to shift towards Shin's direction. Flashing back to before the two of them embarked on the plane, Shin requested Sakamoto not come to his aid at any point during this exam, wanting to make the commitment that he'll be able to fight and win on his own. Sakamoto obliges, but tells Shin not to fail if that's the case, something that only inspires Shin further, who declares not only is he gonna pass, he's making it to the top of the class. And that promise is why Shin can't hold back, even if Mafuyu is just a kid. There's too much at stake here. This flashback contextualizes Shin and Sakamoto's separate adventures during this whole arc, but it also sheds some light on Sakamoto's earlier action of holding on to that second bullet, as ultimately, it shows that despite Shin wanting Sakamoto to accept him as an equal, whether it being subconscious or not, Sakamoto himself doesn't even truly believe Shin can pass on his own. I think, deep down, at some level, Shin knows this though, and it's why he fights so hard this arc to be independent. For a 14-year-old, Mafuyu is highly intelligent and quite experienced in combat. He's able to deduce Shin must be reading his moves after only a couple of exchanges of blows. And it only takes another short while after that for Mafuyu to change his strategy entirely from precise attacks to wild frenzies, slicing everything around Shin and in Mafuyu's way. But Shin still manages to keep up, once again tossing Mafuyu back with a kick. However, that quick thinker grabs a hold of Shin's leg and holds him still to try and attack that way. But unfortunately for Mafuyu, his teenage angst was way too loud for Shin not to hear. The clairvoyant was already way ahead of Mafuyu's well-thought-out plan, because, well, it was thought out, snapping his ankle blade off at the stem with the back of Shin's gun. Putting the teenager in submission with a gun to his temple, Shin swipes the 3 golden bullets from Mafuyu's pocket. Admitting defeat and losing in disgrace, Mafuyu demands Shin finish the job and kill him. Which, alright Kimasabi, let's relax a little bit. Not only is it against Shin's family rules to kill, he's not gonna kill a child over some stupid test that, at the end of the day, is only a means to an end for information on Slur. But what Shin views as valiant, Mafuyu views as embarrassing and immature, bursting into tears over his loss and calling Shin immature for not doing the proper assassin thing. And his tantrum just keeps getting worse, so in genuine concern for his well-being, Shin offers him a compliment, saying that for a 14-year-old, Mafuyu, you got some pretty damn good talent as an assassin. And here, I gotta give props to Yuto Suzuki for capturing that perfect entitled as teenager perspective, because how in the world does this little jackass turn the compliment around into, oh, you know, I do get that a lot. I really must be talented. I don't need you to tell me that, which is just, it's very telling to what Suzuki thinks of the next generation. Mafuyu confides in Shin why he can't let himself fail this exam like this. And it's ultimately because his main goal at the JCC is to make all the connections necessary to get recruited into the order. And with this short moment of understanding, Hiding Guy tries to spring out from the cupboard and steal Mafuyu's bullets, but Shin shuts that coward down on sight with a barrage of punches, using this cool moment as a teaching experience to explain to Mafuyu that if he really wants to get into the order, he doesn't need trivial things like connections or reputation. All he really needs to make it in that world is incredible abilities of freak-like nature. Taking pity on the 14-year-old murderer, Shin flicks Mafuyu over a golden bullet, showing how, despite the large gap in power between them, both Sakamoto and Shin are capable of being someone the next generation can look up to. Shin turns to walk away all dramatically, but just like Sakamoto and his blue-haired protege, Mafuyu speaks up to try and stop Shin. Shin sighs, and all cool-like tells Mafuyu he doesn't need to thank him, but in all actuality, thank you is not in Mafuyu's vocabulary. He just wants Shin to swap out the bullet he gave him with one of the other ones that has less blood on it. Back in economy class, the blue-haired girl is still on her rampage of indiscriminate carnage. But despite living out any school shooter's wildest dreams, she has yet to actually secure a golden bullet with her own merit. Seeing this as a teaching opportunity, Sakamoto attempts to mentor her on proper marksmanship, showing just how much of a difference the fundamentals can make by effortlessly and non-lethally disarming the enemies with bullets. The two take this time to officially introduce themselves. Sakamoto using his elaborate, very well thought out code name, it's just Taro. He literally just uses his first name. While the blue-haired potential serial killer's name is Akira. Up in first class, a familiar grisly sight of corpses litter the floor. But it seems every applicant in this section of the plane is hoarding together, all of them chasing after one single man. And based off the golden bullet he keeps flaunting in front of everyone's faces, he's a test administrator, doing his absolute damnedest to goad the best reaction out of the applicants for that camera he's holding to capture it all. That way, he can film all the glorious looks of hope in their eyes, just before he cleaves right through their throats with a single swipe of his clapboard. This test administrator's name is Kanaguri, and although he may have feigned interest in this JCC exam, he's only here for one reason, and that's capturing the best possible footage for his sick, outdated, found footage horror film, not giving a single fuck who he has to kill or manipulate to get it. And something that really pulls the world of Sakamoto Days together is the fact that this Kanaguri guy is actually the one responsible for all those convenient assassin movies and infographics that the protagonists acquire most of their information from. But one connection Kanaguri has to the world that isn't good is that he's also an order member, potentially meaning that Kanaguri could bring this entire operation of Sakamoto and Shin's down if he catches on to them. As the exam war wages on, more and more people get eliminated, and at this point, only 63 of the original 360 participants remain. With only 30 minutes left until the plane reaches its destination, the two pilots of the plane admit they've never seen so many people be eliminated so soon before, but they're able to just laugh it off and continue flying since, you know, they're always safe here in the cockpit. Despite claiming he originally wanted nothing to do with Shin, Mafuyu has begun clinging to and pestering Shin, asking him about his own personal reasons for taking the exam. But before they can keep talking, they're interrupted by a loud, pretentious voice behind them. A camera looking directly at Shin and Mafuyu as they turn, setting the stage for a new, perfect narrative. Two rookie assassins, burning their youth away and fighting for their lives. In rolls Kanaguri, another test participant pushing him down the aisle on a small cart to ensure the best angle. Flicking a golden bullet to his lackey once Kanaguri gets the shot, truly showing how seriously this guy's taken the whole test administrator thing, Shin recognizes this famous director and is surprised someone like Kanaguri would show up to such a common exam like this. And although Kanaguri admits he's always out and about looking for new footage, apparently, there is business he has with this exam specifically, hinting there might be more to his appearance here than he's currently letting on. But before we can even get that far, Mafuyu says he doesn't want anything to do with Kanaguri's movie, as he watched his, most likely also entitled, mother do before him, probably at like a Kmart or something. Mafuyu boldly proclaims he does not give Kanaguri his consent to be filmed and to stop recording now. But I think even worse than that, Mafuyu goes straight for Kanaguri's neck and just frankly movies as a whole, proclaiming that movies are too long and they're boring. He prefers YouTube videos since he can 2x speed those and fast forward through the slow parts. Wait for it, that's not even the worst part. Mafuyu follows this up by saying, can't you just fucking Wikipedia the movie anyway instead of watching it? And oh, Kanaguri is fucking pissed about that. Forget about being in a damn movie, they'll be lucky if they're not in the morgue by the time Kanaguri's done with them. Shin steps in front of Mafuyu and activates his future sight, thinking even if this order member can outspeed him, Shin can still predict where he's going. But then, something inconceivable happens. That future witnessed by Shin changes. Kanaguri's talent breaking Shin's perception as he closes in on both Mafuyu and Shin from behind in a split second. Thankfully though, right at that moment, a bullet rips between them and directly into Kanaguri's torso. Or at least it would have, had his clapboard not been in the way. Everything in Sakamoto's universe must be made with fucking adamantium, I swear. Sakamoto and Akira made it just in time, taking Akira's gun barrel and aiming it for her to ensure timing and precision. In response though, that psychopath director is in awe of the new character that just appeared in frame. At first, everyone thinks he's talking about Sakamoto, but with that blinding speed, Kanaguri subtly corrects them as his hands are gripping at Akira's shoulder from behind, exclaiming she will be his new star. Everyone reacts as quickly as they can, but in another blink of an eye, Kanaguri's already halfway across the plane with Akira in hand. But that's not all. He's also swiped all of the group's golden bullets as well. In the same time it took Kanaguri to do that, he'd come up with another amazing idea for the film. What if the plane flew itself? The entire structure of the plane begins to nosedive towards the earth, with that dickhead pilot's karma coming a little too sooner than his passengers would have liked. Everyone on the plane is strewn about, bumping into each other and the walls of the plane in just an incoherent mess. However, despite being literally upside down and plummeting to his death, Kanaguri's much more worried if pilotless planes plot is way too boring and hard to follow. He thinks if audiences are gonna walk out, you know what, fuck this whole damn plane. Scrap the script, let's start fresh. And it's here we find out that apparently Kanaguri's camera also doubles as a fucking laser beam, because bro just lets that thing rip, busting a massive hole in the plane that splits it in two without any elaboration whatsoever. Free falling, Kanaguri declares that this is true cinema, while anyone with half a brain cell is just now starting to wonder, why did they toss out all the plane's safety equipment in favor of assault rifles? All the bodies, dead or alive, begin piling out of the airplane like sandbags, and the test applicants currently have nothing else to look at but the ground speedily getting closer and closer. Not for the test administrators though. Apparently, the only people who got the bring your own parachute memo on the whole damn plane, with almost everyone who applied for the exam for sure dead now, the head test administrator named Usami is worried management might blame him for signing off on 1, the Kanaguri hire, and 2, endangering the JCC's reputation. But another administrator named Atto comes up with a big-brained idea and says management can't be mad if this was all just a part of your plan from the start. This is just, you know, phase 2 of the test. Usami pauses. Holy shit, that's genius. Hey everyone, it's your head exam administrator speaking. So now, you know, the test is like to land safely on the island below and also have a golden bullet. And I just want everyone to know that this was definitely part of the original plan. You definitely can't sue us because this is all in the contract that you signed, okay? Don't die. Good luck. Do you think they believe me?
What do you mean it's still on?
Now, this comes as a surprise to both the applicants and, shockingly, even some of the administrators who apparently were not a part of that first memo about parachutes, making it all fairly obvious to a mind reader like Shin that this whole fucking exam has just gone off the rails at this point, and his greatest fears of there never actually being a single functional adult in the room besides himself have also been realized. The remaining assassins do their best to think of a way to survive, but others like Mafuyu just give up on life and call it quits, despite being the more confident of the group earlier. Worst of all, despite falling to their deaths, they still hear that annoying, pretentious-ass ringing voice calling to them from above about plot points and protagonist tropes. Kanaguri is only a few meters above them, but this is actually the luckiest the protagonist group might have gotten, as Sakamoto is able to suck in air and reduce his air resistance, quickly floating back up and roundhouse kicking those golden bullets out of Kanaguri's grasp. Choosing to take the L on this one, Kanaguri quietly fades into the background of the sky, noting that for just a support character, Sakamoto would make a fine addition to his film. But right now, the group's got way more pressing matters to attend to than the director's poorly disguised fetish. Like, not becoming a pancake in about a minute or two. When questioned about the bullets not mattering more than their lives, Sakamoto admits that all of this would have been for nothing if they couldn't pass after making it to the ground anyway. And once again, it's Sakamoto's cool-headedness while staring into the face of danger here that once again lights a spark of courage inside of Akira, thinking what special attribute of hers might be able to get them out of this situation. Unfortunately, being an assassin was never Akira's strong suit, admitting to herself she's only ever been good at housekeeping, chores, and sewing. But it's right there that very first lesson spoken at the beginning of this exam by Mizuno rings true. A good assassin is able to make use of whatever is at their disposal in order to accomplish the mission. In a moment of epiphanous clarity, Akira announces that everyone needs to take their clothes off ASAP. And before she even has time to say there's no time to explain, Taro and Shin are way ahead of her, putting their trust in Akira and following her lead without a second thought, showing us the difference between people like Taro and Shin, who have put their faith in others before and seen it pay off, compared to selfish brats like Mafuyu, who wouldn't even give their shirts up at first because it's too cold. Kill Baby gets it though. Bro's already butt naked in that birthday suit, contributing way more than he needs to, just like the goat he is. Resonating with Mizuno's lesson, Akira makes use of everything she has around her, harnessing the innate talent lying within to turn her sewing skills into parachute creation, stitching one big enough for everyone to hang on to with all the excess cloth, slowing the entire group just enough to angle their descent towards the ocean and soften their blow against its surface significantly. Akira rejoices when she's still alive and in the water, but she soon realizes it might have all been for nothing when she's sinking below, unable to swim back up, held down by all of her self-doubt. She can't save herself on her own, but thankfully, Sakamoto fishes her out of the water just in time, repaying that prior leadership with current friendship. With everyone finally back on shore and able to breathe in recovery, surprisingly, a loose golden bullet washes up on the sand, with everyone else having already earned those bullets, and even more so after saving them all from certain death. Sakamoto believes Akira is more than deserving of the golden bullet this time. And Akira, who finally feels like she can be proud of herself just a little bit, happily accepts. With everyone celebrating their passing of the quote-unquote second phase of the exam, which realistically was a lot more like surviving a terrorist attack, Sakamoto stops for a moment, catching a glimpse at the parachute Akira sewed earlier. Shin isn't able to notice himself, but with a keen eye, Sakamoto is astonished by how expertly those seams were stitched, despite Akira being under such extreme conditions. Considering the insane circumstances revolving around this whole exam, it just leaves Sakamoto with even more questions. Just who is Akira? And more importantly, where the hell did she come from? The first half of the JCC Transfer Exam comes to an end, and we're going to be taking a short break. But don't worry, we'll be right back with part 2 of the JCC Transfer Exam arc. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all there. Peace.